So today we are diving into a really fascinating and honestly a pretty complex argument. It pulls together Norse gods, Greek heroes, and Christian theology all to solve one single problem. How do you prove something exists when it's specifically designed to be hidden? The source material we're looking at treats it like a big mythological puzzle, so let's see if we can find the keys to unlock it together. And right out of the gate, we're hit with this huge philosophical question. This really challenges not just what we see, but how we even think about proof itself. I mean, think about it. If you can't see something, does that automatically mean it isn't there? Or, and this is what this whole argument hinges on, could that very absence be evidence of something else entirely? And this leads us straight to the core problem that the source material wants to unpack for us, the challenge of hiddenness. The entire argument is really built on this idea that there's a massive difference between what is physically present and what is truly real. To really frame this, the argument basically splits one identity into two different concepts. So on one side, you have Jesus, the physical man, the person a telescope or scientific study could observe. But on the other side, there's Christ, this hidden identity that those same tools, well, they just can't perceive it. And that raises a really critical question, right? Is that a limitation of our tools? Or is it proof that this Christ identity doesn't even exist? To try and answer that, we actually turn to mythology. The text draws this really direct line between the claimed non-existence of Christ and the, let's say, purposeful hiddenness of the Norse god Odin. In this way of looking at it, not being seen isn't a weakness at all. No, it's actually a sign of incredible wisdom, a different kind of presence. So the very first key we're given to start unlocking this puzzle comes directly from that Norse myth. It's a story all about sacrifice, about sight, and about a much, much deeper kind of knowledge. The myth itself is pretty simple, but it is so powerful. Odin literally gives up his physical sight. He sacrifices one of his eyes in exchange for a totally different kind of vision, cosmic wisdom. He gives up the ability to see the world as it appears just so he can gain the ability to understand it as it truly is. So the takeaway here is absolutely crucial. The logic suggests that to even perceive this hidden identity, you have to do what Odin did. It's not about looking harder with your eyes or using better scientific tools. It's about gaining a whole new kind of understanding. Okay, let's move on to the second key and see how this all builds. For this one, the argument shifts over to Greek epic poetry, bringing in the story of Ulysses and this just seemingly impossible challenge that actually serves a very specific purpose. Picture the scene. It's just filled with mockery and total disbelief. Ulysses, he's finally back home after 20 years, but he's disguised as a beggar. Nobody recognizes him, and he's surrounded by these arrogant princes who all want to take his kingdom, take his wife. He's completely underestimated, a hidden king right there in plain sight. Now, here's the point of the story for our purposes. A specific test can reveal a hidden truth. So first, this impossible challenge is laid out. You gotta string the great bow. The powerful princes, one by one, they all try and they all fail. Then, the disguised beggar, mocked by everyone, he asks for his turn. And boom! By succeeding where literally everyone else failed, his true identity as the king is undeniably revealed. The test itself becomes the mechanism for revelation. Okay, this is where things get really interesting. These ideas are brought into this very unique framework. The argument basically proposes a modern bow and arrow test, a system it calls the clock of truth, and it's designed to reveal this hidden identity in the exact same way Ulysses was revealed. At the very heart of this system is this fundamental conflict. It's a showdown, really. On one side, you have truth, and it's defined here as a reality that just can't be changed. And on the other side, you have belief, which is seen as just a perception, something that can be argued with, challenged, and ultimately proven wrong. So here's this system, this clock of truth. It's presented like a contest between two opposing forces. Let's break it down. You've got the blue path, which represents truth and reality. It moves counterclockwise, and its whole goal is to establish something so real it can't be denied. As it says, to open so none can shut. Then you have the opposing red path. That's belief. It moves clockwise, and it's constantly trying to challenge that reality, to reduce truth to belief. And the major point of conflict, the flashpoint in the system, it's all centered on Jesus' death, which is represented by this clash at the 6 o'clock position. And, get this, just like the challenge Ulysses had to face, this clock has 12 points.
And this isn't a coincidence. They are explicitly connected to the 12 axe heads from the myth. The goal is to shoot an arrow of logic and truth straight through all 12 of these points to reveal the hidden identity at the very end. So now the stage is set, the rules of the test are established, and we come to the final revelation. This is that moment where the argument attempts to actually string the bow and shoot the arrow through its own system. The challenge is posed as a direct question, seemingly from the hidden figure itself. It's a test of the entire system. Is the force driving this whole clock based on just a belief, which can be shut down? Or is it based on an undeniable truth that can never be closed? And then the argument takes this sharp, and I mean really personal turn. The author makes this incredibly provocative claim, tying the validity of this entire system to their own identity. This just raises the stakes to the absolute maximum. It moves the whole thing from a theoretical exercise to a very personal declaration. And this brings us to the final answer presented in the text. The shot through the 12 spokes of the clock is claimed to be a success. The identity that's revealed is blue 12/12, which, within this system, represents the unstoppable, full completion of the path of truth. So, according to this framework, the hidden identity is therefore not a belief, but an ultimate, undeniable reality. But the source material doesn't just end with a nice, neat answer. It leaves us with one final cyclical question, a paradox about the tree of life. It's a thought that kind of loops us all the way back to the very beginning, forcing us to reconsider everything, truth, reality, and what it really means to see.